Good morning, friends. Very warm welcome to the lecture series of BSc first year, a paper named as Diversity of Cryptograms, in which we are learning the algae. The branch that deals with the algae is known as to be phycology. In previous lecture, we have gone thoroughly with the respect of the genus that is Nostoc. We have seen the systematic position of the genus Nostoc, occurrence and the habitat of the alga, reproduction by means asexual reproductions, and the life cycle. Friends, Nostoc is a algae which live in a colonial form. This colony of Nostoc is covered with a sheath that is gelatinous sheath. This gelatinous sheath helps to maintain the colonization. Numbers of threads are aggregated and they lived in a colony. These colonies assembled to form a mass-like structure. A mass is like spongy and somewhat waxy or sticky in the nature. This mass appears to be ball-like, and by observing in the fresh water or in the water habitat, the colonial nostoc which has formed the balls or mass shows the greenish, somewhat bluish shade or bluish green in the color. The colony of the nostoc contains thousands of threads or filaments, and sometimes these filaments are to be called as trichomes. Thousands of filaments or trichomes are twisted, and due to the twisting they forms the ball structure. Now when talking about the trichomes, these trichomes are enveloped, which is surrounded by a individual sheath, and thus are to be known as filament. A trichome are made up of many cells, and these cells are arranged like a bed. Friends, you can see the filament of Nostoc. The cells are arranged in a zigzag way or twisted. Talking about the cells, we see the centrioplasms as well as chromoplasm in the cell. The filament is covered with the mucilaginous sheath. Mucilaginous sheath is a protective layer and somewhat waxy. Heterocyst is present, and just beneath or near the heterocyst you can observe the akinets spores. Each cell is somewhat spherical, cylindrical in the shapes. Filaments they are present are large, cylindrical, and colorless empty cells are being observed. Heterocyst is generally intercalary, but in the young condition they may be formed in terminal. In heterocyst, two polar nodules are present in each heterocyst of a filament. Some cells of the filaments naturally enlarges, become bigger in size than normal one, and these cells are filled with the food material. This enlarged cell has a thick cell wall, and thus such type of cells are to be known as akinets. Akinets are generally present in the chain. They may be one, two, and many more. Friends, you see the diagram in this slide. In the figure that is labeled as A, you can see a colony of a nostoc with the gelatinous sheath, and the filaments are present in the colony. Thousands and many more filaments are present in the colony. In the figure B, you can see the nostoc filaments with the mucilage cavity and with the heterocyst present in it. In the B part of the figure, colony under high power. In the B part, on the right hand side, you can see the cell structure with the pseudo vacuoles as well as the cyanophycine granule, the cell wall, centrioplasm, and chromatoplasms, as well as the heterocyst. Heterocyst has a polar nodule, somewhat elevated and a tube-like structure which is grown in the inner side of the cell. Such polar nodule has a pole in it. This polar nodule is present on the both the spherical part of the heterocyst. Single cell of a nostoc. Now, the cell wall of the nostoc is surrounded by a cellulose. Protoplast shows the typical structure, mixophycean structure, that is inner colorless or centroplasm and the outer pigment are to be chromoplasm. In this diagram, you can see the centroplasm and the chromoplasm. Friends, chromoplasms are present pigments which are proteinous, cyanophycin granules, and starch granules. Whereas in the centroplasm, the incipient nucleus is present. Occurrence of nostoc we already know. It may occur on soil, rock, where there is moist rock, at the bottom of lakes. The nostoc is to be occurred on the moist rock, at the bottom of lakes, at the springs, fresh water, sometime to be found on the salt water. Rarely it has been found in marine habitats. Characteristics of the nostocs are shown here. As I spoke, genus of blue-green algae with the cells arranged bed-like chains that are grouped and together mass in a gelatinous. Size ranging from microscopic. Masses of nostoc may be found on soil and the floating quiet water. Reproduction is by asexual method, and the sexual method is completely absent in the nostoc. By fragmentation, reproduction occurs. Special thick-walled, that is akinete, has the ability to dissect for long periods of time. After a dry storage, the akinete of one species germinates into a filament when the favorable condition occurs. Like other blue-green alga, nostoc contains two pigments that are phycocyanin, that is blue, and phycoerythrin, that is red, as well as chlorophyll has been observed in the nostoc. This alga has the ability to fix the nitrogen in the special cell, that is heterocyst. Terrestrial species has been used as a supplementary food sources in Asia. Now, while studying, there are some biotechnological importance of the nostoc. We'll see it. Several edible species, that is Nostoc communis, spheroids, flagelliformi, have been collected from various natural habitats as a human use. Nutritional value of the edible nostoc has been characterized, and the number of pharmacological study suggests that nostoc contains a bioactive compounds with the anti-tumor, antioxidant, or anti-inflammatory functions. Nostoc meet the increasing market demands. Mass cultivation of nostoc has been attempted during the past decades. Friends, the videos or the lecture series on this Nostoc, and the PPTs shown on these videos on the screen are taken from the slideshare.net or slideshare.com. We are thankful to the slideshare.com. These are not prepared by me, they are just for the references. So, friends, edible species has been successfully cultivated at pilot scale. Several challenges, including the low growth rate, loss of colonies, and high cost of photobioreactors, remains to be overcome for the commercialization in the future. So, friends, regarding the Nostoc, we have gone thoroughly with each aspect touching thallus, habit, occurrence, systematic position, then reproduction, as well as the life cycle of the Nostoc. In the next lecture, we will be going to study the next alga. Till then,